Ship stats. Is that it? Yes. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with taking a look at your Kurfurst build. This is a Brawl. So 6-on-6 tier 10s. And I need to turn my AC down. I'm getting warm with Stevie on my lap here. All right. So you are running the 420mm guns. Now, interesting you've chosen that. The 406s might be the better choice in Brawl specifically, because in Brawls, it's all about the DPM. And if you go to the 406s, you can see your rate of fire goes to 24.8 from 22.5. Yes, Spock, I know you get the Yamato gun sound, but in a random battle that's going to last longer, I think the 420s make more sense. But I think
like
that
the 406s too.
Yeah. When I ground up the tier 9, the FDG, I did it in the 406s and randoms there, and I much preferred the 406s, but I mean, I think in the FDG,
pen, and that's it, and it's not even that much penetration. Like you lose DPM, and I don't think that getting the additional value for armor pen is worth losing the DPM.
Right. So,
but it's a bit of a preference, I guess. Some people just like the 420s more.
I think, I can't remember if the 420s had a different traverse speed in the tier 9, the FDG, but I know on this ship they don't. So in any case, in Brawl, I would do 406. Randoms, 420s, clan battles, 420s, whatever. So let's take a look at the rest of your build. You've got Auxiliary Armaments Modification 1. This is good if you want to keep your secondaries alive, really, and that's about it. Not a bad pick for Brawls, I suppose, because, you know, you're obviously looking to Brawl. You've got damage control, secondaries, other damage control, concealment, and secondaries, so that's fine. Again, you're in Brawl, the engagement range can be that much closer, so it makes sense that you would want to buff out your secondaries. If this was a random battle, I would probably have switched in main battery 3, just so you can get your main gun DPM out, because that's where the bulk of your damage is going to come from. You've gone for spotting aircraft instead of fighter. That makes sense. And you've got a 13-point captain. Cookie, is this loot yens or anybody special? We've got demo expert, vigilance, adrenaline rush, manually secondaries, and secondary range. This is just a regular. Okay.
I would swap out the vigilance for a traverse.
So if you're up close, I'm sure what you are thinking is up close, you want to know where the torpedoes are and be able to dodge them. Back when I ground the FDG, now this is before the commander rework, but I also took vigilance, I think was the name of the skill, because it increased the acquisition range with hydro. So in Brawl, you could make the argument for vigilance, although Grunty's argument about grease the gears also makes sense to me. So I could see you going for either one, frankly. I'm going to turn the music down just a little bit. Other than that, I mean, if you're just going straight secondary build, then this is what you do with the 13-pointer. So that's fine. Signals, anti-det. You want to burn less. You want to set more fires for your secondaries. Obviously, your secondaries, consumable. And then I'm surprised you did not take ship speed. Hydro, in Brawls, this could actually come in really handy because most of the time in Brawl, you're going to spend a lot of time within that Hydro range. But, okay. Also, the ramming flag.
Ramming. And no heal flag.
The heal flag would be very helpful too. I agree. You're out of the ship speed flag. And that one's pretty expensive, so makes sense. The ramming flag is pretty darn cheap, so I would say if you can, you never know when you're going to ram somebody, especially in a battleship, so getting that extra damage and the possibility of surviving that ram, I think, is very much worth the relatively small cost in credits.
You can make the argument if you're low on flags in general, that you just don't run any in a fun mode like Brawl.
That as well. I was just about to mention that. Yes, if you're in a mode like Brawl where it really doesn't matter, by all means conserve your flags and keep them for clan battles, or, you know, ranked, or if you're doing randoms and you really want to win, you know? Alright, 3 battleships against 3 battleships. You've got 2 cruisers and a destroyer versus 2 enemy cruisers. You've got a Marceau, a Brizzy, and a Hindenburg. Yamato, Montana, Kurfurst. Kremlin, Preußen, Yamato, Des Moines, Salem, Moskva. Okay. So
Brisbane is an interesting choice for Brawls. Not a
Well,
ship I would be comfortable bringing.
I think it's a good idea, actually. I think Brisbane and Brawls gives you a lot of practice with the ship, especially utilizing that 12-kilometer radar, practice using the torpedoes and that sort of thing. I think you could definitely make the argument for playing Brizzy in Brawls. I saw Snob in that earlier today. Oh, there's a knot I was looking for.
If you look at it from that perspective, it makes sense to practice.
I agree, it's not like a try-hard ship.
But I would expect to be Deathstruck, because Brawl is battleship heavy.
Very much so, exactly.
You don't really want to fight battleships in the Brisbane.
No. There we go. Stevie is so happy. He's very comfortable. He loves to just lean against me. He's been very, very lovey-dovey with me lately. So looking at the way things are going, I do like that you guys are splitting up. This is a pretty large map for Brawls. So that's fine. Your Marceau is going to just walk into A because he's fast, so that's cool. Big question is what's going to happen after he gets the cap. If he exits the middle channel, is he going to run into, like, the Moskva? Or, well, any of those 3 cruisers, frankly.
It's kind of weird that he goes straight in and doesn't sit in a corner.
Goes straight in and doesn't what?
I said it's kind of weird that he goes straight in and not just sits at the edge to get the cap.
Well, yeah. But he probably thinks he might need to get out in a hurry. As a matter of fact, there's the Des Moines. I agree with you, though. The northern edge of the cap, so that he's got vision and everything, would probably have been better for that Marceau. I did say you say something about there being a death pick, so cool. I took one at the start just to be safe. And there's your Des Moines. Okay, secondaries on the Des Moines. For this, I would single fire, not salvo fire, because you want to try to walk the turrets up a little bit as you fire, because he's probably going to be, you know, you're going to expect him to turn stern onto you, right, and try to run away. So if you like hold down the mouse button and ripple fire instead of double clicking and salvo firing, you might have a better shot at getting more than just the one hit. Now I'm going to pause it here for a second. Look at the mini-map. There are 2 battleships coming this way, the Yamato and the Kremlin. And the Des Moines is already kind of kiting away. At this point, you need to make a very important decision. Are you going to turn in or are you going to turn out? There's an island in front of you. You can't just keep going straight. Personally, I would probably turn out and try to go for shots on the Salem in the middle of the map. Force the Yamato and Kremlin to commit to going into the A cap, and then together you and the Marceau can whittle them down. That's my recommendation.
Same, because if you keep going towards the border or turning in, you're putting yourself in a situation where you're outnumbered by the enemy team.
Yeah,
the only ship that is reasonably maybe gonna help you is the Marceau, and you don't even know if he's fully coming back, or if he's just committing to the other side.
Correct. So in other words, you're choosing a 3v1 if you turn in. Alright, let's see what happens. Now, the Des Moines, you can theoretically Citadel him through the butt because he's got a flat rear. You really like 3v1s? Okay. using your first heal already. And you've only got 3 of them, or 4? I think 4.
4.
Yeah.
I think that heal. It's fine. There was
With
enough
4 of them,
damage
yes.
taken to heal it back. I don't think it was wasted.
Yep, I agree. Salem dies in the middle. Yeah, I'm pulling away some of your knights.
So he's making the smart decision and pulling away.
There you go. There you go.
Admittedly speaking, even if he managed to slap the Des Moines off of the board, pushing despite the fact that you would have had island cover if you'd kept going ahead, despite that, the Kremlin is the only thing that you don't really need to worry about. It's the Yamato that you have to worry about. Those shells will absolutely punish you for being close with that thick armor.
Yep. Now, I would say if the Des Moines was gone, I could see you making the argument for just LOL doing it anyways, because you can maybe kill one and ram the other, but in most cases, there's no point.
I do like the turn and now staying like this, though, because
This is smart.
as it seems like it's just the Yamato now. He's showing cheek.
I think the Kremlin was afraid that you were going to push into him.
I think peeling away from a Kurfurst is the only smart thing the Kremlin could have really done, because Kremlin guns reward precision and they reward you for catching things at open broadside. Otherwise, the shells often ricochet and bounce against armor like on Kurfursts. Letting the Yamato go for your armor is a better idea. The Kremlin's waiting for an opportunistic shot rather than a full-fledged assault.
I would not be going forward here, though. Like, he's so close to your secondary range, you might as well just let him get into it.
Mm-hmm. Look at your Merceau. He got smacked, but now he's going to try torping.
I mean, right now the Des Moines is out of play. The Marceau moving in for at least providing torpedo support is a decent idea.
Yeah, it's nice of him.
As long as he stays away from the Des Moines.
There you go. There's your secondaries. Nice. You cheeked him right there. Boom. Showing too much side. Des Moines is coming back in. I would focus the Des Moines. Forget the Yamato.
I would also now be going forward again.
Hmm. Now, this would be a very different engagement if that Kremlin had pushed in with the Yamato, but because he's so far back, you're able to isolate your target better. I want to highlight that because that's something that I think a lot of players don't understand is, you know, the importance of pushing together as opposed to one in front of the other.
And while despite Kremlin being more of a precision ship and more focused at medium long-range combat, pushing with the Yamato would have basically forced you to angle against one and not the other, and it would have forced him to angle against the Kremlin more than the Yamato, because Yamato you wouldn't be able to ricochet the guns at close quarters anyway.
Right, and more importantly, it would have also forced Cookie to back off. Right, he couldn't sit there like he was doing with his secondaries banging away.
Like the Des Moines pushing is the idea of, okay, you're pushing up to get the enemy's attention but force the destroyer to go away. The only problem with this is it's not a battleship. There's not really much it can do in regards to angling against, say, the Kurfurst's guns or secondaries.
Yep. I'm pausing it here for a moment too because this is another decision point for Cookie. He's probably going down. He doesn't have fire prevention. He's on 2 fires. You know, the heal's going to come back up. He might survive these fires and use the DCP before he can get the heal. But something else to be considering, Cookie, is using your spotting plane soon. And the reason for that is, if you're going down, you'll at least get the plane up to provide some vision for your team, especially your Marceau, right? On that Des Moines especially.
I honestly don't understand the run forward here. Like, it basically allowed the Des Moines to go in a position where she's safe. Like, I would have just taken the trade at this point. Like, just stay there, keep the Des Moines shooting, probably go down with it, but you kill the Des Moines. And then you'll have a 4v2 left.
I'm honestly
Well-
going to make an argument against it because despite the fact that, yeah, the Des Moines pushed to where it can safely fire, it's also putting that third turret out of action as opposed to being open water. It's buying a little more time for your team to get their act together, even if
And-
it's only for a few seconds.
You don't need to get the act, like, this team's already winning, right? Like,
But if you notice it too, the Des Moines not able to shoot at him anymore. He was forced to duck in to cover that much. So you're actually going to get your heal off here. Oh, here comes the Des Moines. Oh, and he's broadsiding you? Switch your secondaries to Des Moines. Heal time. Farther forward. He's going to move forward.
There it goes.
Bye, Des Moines.
was a very, very dumb decision by the Des Moines.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it
Yes,
also
it
means,
was.
at least with the main battery, okay, you can deal with the Des Moines, you can keep your secondaries chewing on the Kremlin.
Mm-hmm. So you managed to hold off an entire flank with the help of the Marceau as well. And yeah, your team's managed to just jump through the middle. That's great. You saw that one coming, Falcon? Yeah, right? Seriously. Well, the Marceau actually did help a decent amount with the torpedoes, and just the fact that those torpedoes were seen, I think that slowed the Amato's push down to the point where he just kind of let himself get cheeked, because he was, I think, a little bit too concerned about torpedo threats. Alright, Kremlin kills the Marceau, but not before taking like 4 or 5 additional torpedoes.
Took 5.
Yakadiego, what's up?
Are you gonna be able to survive?
No, it's gonna
No.
be
Nope. Nope.
mutual
But-
destruction.
Trade!
But, yes. We get a double death pick here, so that's kind of nice. 225,000 damage in Brawls. I can see it.
I want to know how much damage you tanked because honestly,
Secondary battleships are really, really good if the enemy decides to push into you one by one, right?
Like what we just saw. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
That's how I got my
they're
damage record.
they are quite literally defensive powerhouses. Even if they're used aggressively, still, it's like you have a good chunk of armor and a solid HP pool that they have to chew through before they can smash through a flank. Your presence literally slows and denies them.
Agreed.
With the help of that destroyer, too, you were able to remain offensive enough to basically whittle their ships out. Even though your ship did get sunk in the end, it bought your other flank enough time to push through, take the caps, and then be able to come around and use numbers to their advantage. Although, despite the fact that it's the wrong game, I'm astounded at the Goritzia's damage potential. Ah, there it goes. Finally, it works. Gorizia is
Yeah.
a tanky cruiser, though.
Yeah, it looks like they haven't updated the part where you can draw on it and stuff, so we'll have to go to the old-fashioned renders for now. 2 winners, Puddin', you got it. Thank you. So, I mean, Marceau did a great job of grabbing the cap, and then look at how much he just got punished.
Yeah. That's
His
why you don't go
speed.
up into the middle.
Now,
I mean, admittedly, he did take the cap, but it's like his speed was the only thing that kept him alive.
and this
and
goes
relevant,
back
too.
to that discussion, Grunty, with the idea of you want to be like, if he was on Echo 2 at that upper portion, he would have seen the Des Moines, he would have known he was coming. As soon as he got the cap, he could have just W'd out. He would have had a lot more health.
Yeah, nobody would have been able to shoot him except for the Des Moines.
Right. Exactly. So anyways, let's continue. Now, the Des Moines smartly kites away and runs. And here's the part right here. This is the part I think that's key for the enemy team. The Kremlin, for some odd reason, turns south here. And maybe he's trying to get a shot on your Montana, because your Montana is broadside to Yamato and the Kremlin.
It's that island in H2. It has magical attraction to battleship players. They always want to go
Oh, here.
behind
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Maybe he's thinking he's going to go behind it, go up the one line and push because he's a Kremlin and therefore he can control all his flanks. But so your Montana's about to die. There he goes. Trades for the Salem. You are very lucky that the Salem died and the Preußen's about to die, because the Preußen is way over pushing right here.
That's
So
uncoordinated random teams for you.
Oh, it is. And because of that, right, the Yamato continues to push. Now, the Des Moines, we know, is going to turn around and advance, and we know the Kremlin's going to turn and advance. But the problem is that the amount of time the Yamato's been out in front of these other ships, he's basically isolating himself. So that's an oops on the side of the Yamato.
But yeah, right here, you see you're already kiting away.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I meant, where you could have closed the distance yourself and get the secondaries on. Because
Right.
it doesn't really matter if you're at 13 kilometers to him or 12 kilometers for the amount of damage you take and you do with the main guns. But you put out significant additional damage out with your secondaries.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. Absolutely. And get out the Rave Chem lights? Damn right, dude. I'll be right there with you. This song is great when I blast it in the house. The only problem is my wife hates when I blast anything in the house, so very rarely does that happen. So here's that pull up right here you were talking about, Grunty, about stopping.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
I would have
you know,
just stopped and traded with the Des Moines at this point. I mean, it obviously worked out better for him that he didn't do that.
mhm.
But
Well,
a huge part of that was the Des Moines making a big mistake here.
Well,
so
you also have to consider the matchup between the Des Moines and a Kurfurst. It would not make sense for a Des Moines being that close to a Kurfurst to continue pushing. He sought cover deliberately. When the Kremlin showed up to
Yeah.
play, his mistake was not angling more away to kite away from you before he came out of cover.
I mean, yeah, I know that Des Moines tried to get in cover, but if Cookie doesn't run forward and is like a whole square more down to the southwest,
Mhm.
he can still shoot the Des Moines, and the Des Moines never gets into cover.
I mean, the only
Cookie
thing I
did
could see
pull
this.
forward, like he was in a position where he could have still shot it. But Des Moines pushing forward and him pushing forward led to the Des Moines getting into the cover.
So the thing I would have expected the Des Moines to do is exactly what he did: duck into cover. Because why would you allow the covers to smack you? But be in a position where he can fire his front two guns, on Cookie while not being detected. I think the big problem is the Marceau, because if he tried to get into that position, he might be proximity detected. So let's see what I think what's going to happen is the Des Moines is going to, that's either radar or hydro. And I think the Des Moines is going to try to back up and cut off the Marceau. He's probably thinking the Marceau is going to come back in the channel. And so for whatever reason, he wants to make a 3-point turn. And that's the part when you see him and smack him. Honestly, I think the Des Moines miscalculated. I think the Des Moines thought that Cookie was going to be the standard person who doesn't ever hit the S key and essentially pull a Pockington and keep running away. Love you, Pock. Instead, you stopped, and it looked like you might have even started reversing. So I think that Des Moines was caught off guard by that. In other words, he probably thought he had more room to wiggle. See, right there. He was probably expecting, at this point, Kurfurst to be at Bravo 4. But it's not happening. You're at Charlie 3. So that's just a nice and easy, gentle turn of the turrets, and there goes some more XP for you. And Marceau gets some good torpedo hits. you end up trading, and that's basically the game after the Mosfa dies here. So very nice game. It was a really fun brawl. I mean, this could have been a ranked battle. I don't think anybody looked at this and said this doesn't feel different or odd. Like it looks like something we've all seen. So I mean, nicely done.
I mean, the only difference is like one team had the destroyer in rank, both would have won.
Sure. But in terms of the overall way the battle unfolded and stuff, like it to me, it felt very similar to what I've seen, to what we've all seen when you play the game. So cool. All right. Well, thanks for sending that one in. That was fun. Let me go.